Om Sri Sai Ram. Loving Sairams to all and welcome to today's session. We are honored to have with us Sri Mukundan Sir, Zonal President, South Zone, SriSathyaSai Seva Organizations, India. I would like to request Sri Mukundan Sir to take over and introduce and welcome our esteemed guest speakers for today's session. Sairam Sir, over to you, sir.
Om Sri Sai Ram. Prayerfully seek divine permission and blessing for this evening session for the teachers. Respected Dr. P.L. Rani, respected Sidhartha Raju, Dr. Sidhartha Raju, respected Dr. Ganesh, K.M. Ganesh, respected members of teaching fraternity, once again, loving Sairam to you and good evening. Before introducing the revered speakers and the panelists for today's panel discussion, let me share a beautiful incident that happened, and it relates to SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning. Every year, with Bhagwan's grace, we used to take media person from Kerala to Prashantanilayam for darshan. And when all of them reach at Prashantanilayam, there will be a post-dinner session on the first day, just to get introduced, self-introduction of all of them. And one or two students, former students of Sathya Institute of Higher Learning will be addressing them. On this particular occasion, particular year, we were meeting for this introductory session, and two students, former ex-student alumni who are serving Swami at Prashantanilayam, they addressed them about the institute, about Swami's philosophy of education. After that, we were concluding the meeting. When we were concluding this session, we were just telling them tomorrow morning we will go to see the Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. One brother got up, and it is very interesting to note, he is from Deshabhimani in Kerala, and this paper is owned by Communist Party Marxist. He got up and said, we don't want to go to see the Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. So we asked for a reason. Then he said, by seeing these two boys, by seeing their behavior, and by hearing what they have spoken to the address to us, we understand what is Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, and we need not go to see the institute again, because we understand what is the uniqueness of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning. With Bhagwan's immense grace, three eminent who were formerly students of Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, totally molded by Bhagwan, and who are serving the institute now, currently, they are here with us with Bhagwan's grace as panelists for today's session, and the theme, information to transformation. I'm extremely happy to introduce them and welcome them. Dr. P.L. Rani, a meritorious Balaviga student from Kerala. Professor Rani joined the Ananthapur campus as a student for her intermediate course in 1988. Thereafter, she completed her bachelor's degree in physics in 1993. At the command of Bhagwan, she changed the course of study to a post-graduation in English. Bhagwan personally granted her the opportunity to serve as a member of the university faculty in 1996. This, Dr. Rani considers as the biggest blessing of her life. After nearly 3 decades of academic life, Professor Rani currently serves as the director of the women's campus of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning at Ananthapur, and as the Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences. She has been blessed by Bhagwan to speak in his divine physical presence on a few occasions. An inspiring speaker, Dr. Rani feels it is a blessing to be able to inspire young minds to direct their thought towards Godward path. Most hearty welcome, Dr. P.L. Rani, to this important session. Dr. Sidhartha Raju, Dr. Sidhartha Raju, hailing from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. Dr. Sidhartha is an assistant professor working in the Department of English at SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning. After being a part of acclaimed Sundaram Bhajan group in Madras for several years, he became a part of Prashanthi Bhajan group when he joined Sathya Institute of Higher Learning, Prashanthi to do his MBA. Following his graduation, he completed his MA in English on Bhagwan's command. Dr. Sidhartha joined the faculty of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning in 2011. In 2016, Dr. Sidhartha conferred the Sai Krishna Award for the best teacher in the Prashanthi campus. In 2019, Sidhartha completed his doctoral studies in post-colonial studies. He has had the privilege of traveling with Bhagwan to Kodaikanal. Dr. Sidhartha Raju is an excellent stage actor, playwright, vocal performer, and speaker. Dr. K.M. Ganesh. Dr. Ganesh joined SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning in the year 2002 for the BSc Honours Program. He then went on to complete his MSc in Chemistry, Masters in Philosophy, and PhD in Analytical Chemistry. He then joined for postdoctoral research and has been associated with Medical Device Development Program at Star Labs in the Central Research and Instrumental Facility of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning. He is also pursuing his clinical studies with Cardiology Department of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Prashanthi Gram. He has been actively associated with cultural, service, sports, and spiritual activities of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning. He has conducted study circle sessions at awareness class and summer course programs of SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning and has been a member of panel discussion and study circles in SriSathyaSai Media Center. He has delivered talks during Prashanthi Vidwans Mahatsabha and festivals in Sai Kulwant Hall. Once again, we welcome all of you, and we take this as a great prasadam from our beloved Bhagavan on this day to get 3 faculty members from SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning, and we take it as a great blessing of Bhagavan. Over to you. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Our collective humble and prayerful pranams to our beloved Bhagavan. Greetings to all the participants. It's an honor for us to be able to be addressing all educators on the same platform. It's not very often that we get this opportunity. When we look at Bhagwan Baba's mission, the very common thing that everybody talks about is the educare, the medicare, and the socio-care. And educare always came before the other two. And the 3 of us, as Professor Mukundan so kindly introduced, have been the blessed recipients of Bhagwan's educare, which I like to call as education rendered with great care. There is education all around us. Every few kilometers there is a school in today's world. But the whole point is, how much is this education given with what kind of care. And that's where Bhagwan's system of education stands out. We were having an interview with Bhagwan. All the teachers were sitting around him in this tiny interview room in Prashanti Nilayam. And the Lord always likes to put us into the illusion that he knows nothing, right? So he came in and he said, what do you teach? What do you teach? He asked this question to each one of us. And everybody very diligently answered Bhagwan, Swami, I teach English. Swami, I teach mathematics. Swami, I teach botany. And the whole crowd, about 20 of us were there, and everybody finished reeling out what subject they were teaching. And then Swami said, we thought he'd be very proud of the subjects that we were teaching, you know. He said, then who is teaching my subject? Then Swami said, we were all taken aback. Swami said, my subject is discipline. If you're teaching mathematics, botany, English, and all subjects without incorporating my subject into it, there may not be real education happening. So we are so pleased at the title that you have come up with, Information to Transformation, because that is the whole and sole intent of Bhagwan's educational philosophy. Not to give degrees, which is now dime a dozen. Every university, every institution, everybody gives you a certificate, a diploma, name the degree, and it is there in the market. And if you look at certain resumes and CVs, you'll find dozens of degrees there. But are we really educated? That is the question. And that will happen only based on the title that we're discussing today. Has that education led to any transformation? Having said that, all the earlier avatars, I was just thinking as I was listening to Professor Mukundan, use some of the other means of maybe warfare, the yuddhas in different ways, vanquishing the evil, to get rid of the bad in the world. Our Sathya Sai avatar, and I like to say, love hits a century. Somebody told me yesterday, this is the year, you know, we are celebrating Bhagwan's centenary year. It's like love hits a century. Bhagwan is the only avatar who used education to transform people. Not war, not kill the demons, the asuras, etc. Used education. And that's where the SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning, as Professor Mukundan once again so flatteringly recalled that incident, stands out as a potent tool of transformation. Should this happen? How? Let's, since everybody's a teacher here, think of the cycle of evolution. I like this example so much. Minerals grew into plants, grew into animals, grew into man. What next? Automatically, it has to be the divine. So, but what happens? Man has a few of the remnants of his previous cycle, animal qualities, and a few propensities to become the divine. Now, it all depends on what we help to nourish in that individual that will make him or her an animal or a divine being. Education should be that which will help to remove the dregs of the previous cycle of evolution and take man to the next cycle of evolution. So, which is what is Bhagwan's entire mission. So, he gives very beautiful analogy. I'm sure those who are familiar with Sai literature will remember this example. Yashoda with the butter, right? So butter in the hand in the front and the stick behind. The butter will attract us. So also all these fancy degrees, BS in computer science, MSc in data mining, and people are attracted to this educational system. So also in the schools and colleges that we have accommodations from. Once you arrive, then Bhagwan's methodology of transformation happens. So for him, education was a tool to transform. I must now pass the baton on to Ganesh. By virtue of his name, will begin the activity, and Sidhartha, by virtue of his name, will enlighten us after Ganesh, and we can, in wherever required, have a conversation. Over to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. As you said clearly, I mean, just you have put the context also. We are not just human beings. We have got that animal tendency, and also we have got the divine potential. So we are actually divine inside. And many times we are just oscillating between the animal quality and, sometimes there's a continuous tug of war. In fact, Swami told at the time of Ramayana, we look at Rakshasa, we can see, okay, there is a demon outside. And during Mahabharata, that is Dwapara Yuga, there was jealousy. Of course, people like Duryodhana, Dushasana, the jealousy was all over in their face. But right now we are in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, the Mahabharata is happening in each one of our hearts. The battle is going on inside. Now the question is, like a small child had asked the grandfather. The grandfather was telling the child, there is a black wolf and there is a white wolf inside you. Black wolf is a bad wolf, white wolf is a good wolf. So the child innocently asks the grandpa, so grandpa, who actually wins? So the grandpa says, whomever you feed more naturally becomes stronger and it will win. So it is basically what are the impulses we are strengthening in our day-to-day inputs. Inputs not necessarily means food, input through eyes, all the senses. So that decides in which direction we are going. So because see, the topic is information to transformation. The question is, many times, I also had this doubt initially. We are listening to Swami's discourses, reading a lot of motivational books, inspirational books. But sometimes at the end of the day, you feel that why there is no transformation, because each of us know what is our conscience is the best mirror. Conscience is the guru, actually. In fact, in one context, Swami, one of our teachers, former principal of Vrindavan campus, he wrote a letter, "Oh Hridaya Nivasi Sai," and he started the letter like that. And then Swami told, see, this is not how you address me. Hridaya Nivasi is not the right word. I'm Hridaya Vasi. And Swami made a distinction that Hridaya Nivasi, Nivas means house. Nivas is actually in Hindi, Nivas means house, in Sanskrit also. So in the house, we go inside and we come outside. Okay. But Hridaya Vasi is one who's always there. So in fact, again, it is something which we can appreciate, we can intellectually appreciate it, but how do we kind of realize it or take it more deeply? So I was contemplating on those lines for some time, because Sir shared it. It was a very powerful message. So when you pray, this is my again experience, when you actually contemplate on something which is going as a mananam inside you for a long time, Swami creates a situation, gives you an experience, okay, or you attract the universe itself, creates a situation where you get an answer. They say there's no answer which is better than the one which comes from within. So I mean that goes very deep. So I was thinking like that, and this was an examination period. Entrance exam was going on sometime in 2016, if I am correct. So there's so students from all over India, they apply for a university. So there is one section which is English essay writing, which has to be written. Rest of them are like objective questions, A, B, C, D you can take. So one student at the last moment, he arrives with a broken hand. So just for the English essay section, we needed somebody who can write. We needed a scribe, a person who will write, and the student will dictate and he will write. We know what a scribe is. So last moment, since he arrived just when the bell rang, I was part of the invigilation duty. So somebody had requested if you can quickly sit, just be a scribe for him for 15 minutes, because last moment it's difficult to get anybody. So I felt okay, fine, it's fine. I went and sat next to the boy, and I'm looking at the 4 options that the question is, the question paper, the options which are there in the question paper. And I'm already, see, I am supposed to be a scribe. I'm not supposed to involve myself. A scribe's duty is whatever is being told by the student, whether it is comma, full stop, you do that only. You're not supposed to add your own brain inside that. But already I'm looking at the topics. I'm in my mind, I'm feeling the second topic is better. Okay, but the student selects the 4th topic, something on an environment. So, and the student starts dictating the essay. And there were 2-3 mistakes which he fumbled, and then there were some, it was very simple, silly mistakes that he was doing. And I was looking at him, but I can't give him any indications, hey, you're doing a mistake. I'm just supposed to write what he is saying. So this went on for about 15 minutes. and that 15 minutes what seemed to be for almost an hour, because English also happens to be one of my favorite subjects right from my teenage. When I was in 5th standard onwards, I've been reading English novels, and then, I mean, a lot of creativity. There's a lot of scope of expressing your creativity in English language. So first, that is one identity which is there. And secondly, there were so many mistakes. So at the end of 15 minutes, I was looking at him and I saw this was the hand, this was the pen. And I wrote that 15 minutes, the paper also I wrote, but I knew it is not mine, it is somebody else's. Okay. But still I was getting very frustrated. And at the end of it, I just got up and walked. As I was walking, I was a little upset, but I was also thinking, why am I getting upset? It's not even your paper. Why are you getting upset? So suddenly, like a flash, no, as if like from an inner realization or an insight, it comes that within 15 minutes, you got so frustrated. I am within you. I am inside you. Not 15 minutes, not 24 hours. 365 days throughout your life, I have been inside you. When I look at your thought, word, and deed, and when you do your error, imagine what kind of frustration I should be going through. I mean, that was the realization or the insight which Swami was giving me from inside. And I stopped and I froze. That we have so much of doership, we forget there is the conscience, the Guru, the Swami, the God inside who's sitting us and who's observing. And he, whatever we are doing, whatever we are thinking, is a witness, eternal witness. And just like in the scribe, he cannot interfere. No, if you're writing, whatever you're saying, you do it. So I felt that how much patience that God inside has to have. And many times I've also experienced when I do something good, an act of selflessness which happens, there is a kind of joy which emanates from within, which cannot be described naturally. I mean, it is something which is so spontaneous. So that is when your God, your conscience is happy. So why I'm saying all this is for any teacher, for anybody to focus or who's really serious about seeing the things that we should not limit ourselves from information, but we should also go to the level of transformation. It is very important that we are mindful of the conscience which is there within us, and we have to align our thought, word, and deed. The alignment of what we think, what we speak, and what we act is very important. Then only, it is not important what we are in other people's eyes. It is very important that what we are in our own eyes, the conscience eyes. So this is one of the first lessons I would say every teacher has to, because one of the main role of a teacher is to teach, to give precepts. But if he himself in his personal life is not practicing them, it's the second matter that students are very sharp in noticing if there is some hypocrisy, or if we are saying something, if we are scolding the students for punctuality or some other issues and we ourselves are late. Okay, that is a secondary issue. I mean, that also we should definitely be mindful of. The first thing is what you are in your own eyes is very important. And this Swami, the Sai, is this eternal witness, is always watching, and we should be sensitive to not hurt that conscience within us. And that sensitivity comes if we love. That is Daiva Priti, what we call as Daiva Priti. If you don't love somebody, if you love somebody, the first thing that you will be very cautious that you will not do anything which will hurt that person. That's a common sense thing, which we do. Otherwise, what is the incentive? So loving that presence and acknowledging its presence by your thought, word, and action is very important. I would request Brother Sidhartha to give his, take it forward.
Thank you, brother. That was a lot of ideas that you packed into very nicely in those couple of minutes. So when we were discussing yesterday, if you recall last evening, when we sat together to try to find a flow to this whole concept of information to transformation, as we all know, I mean, like I'm sure there are so many senior teachers here who are with us on this group. So when we spoke about this profession itself, right, this profession of teachers who are in that position where they can give information that leads the students towards knowledge that results in their transformation. So we were talking about how information to transformation, the silent part of it is the knowledge, right? It's a journey where you can't go to transformation without the knowledge, and the information that we give ought to be that kind of knowledge, right? So we spoke about how this profession itself, the nobility of this particular profession, simply because we have the opportunity to shape the heads and the hearts of individuals, right? Not just give them the knowledge that they need towards employability, but also shaping their hearts, which can result in a sea of change in their lives and in the lives of those whom they come to in contact with. And of course, eventually their future, we shape their future. And so it's such a beautiful profession by itself, because you have an opportunity to see the process, right? So very often, the biggest gratification that a teacher has is when you see the journey of a student who came in the first year, and you see how they have transformed over 3 to 5 to 7 years, right? That they typically stay in our institute. Now, in this regard, I recall a story of a student who joined a few years ago. Now, this has stayed with me ever since. Now, this boy, he came from Nepal. Okay, he joined the university for his undergrad program. So in the initial classes, when I asked them to introduce themselves, to ask them where they're from, are they from backgrounds where they've either gone to Sathya Sai schools, or they come from the families, or where their parents or their grandparents have been devotees, and so on. So when it came to this boy, he just said, "This is my name. I'm so and so. I'm from Nepal," and that's it. And in that, he was trying to make a message. He was trying to give a message that I don't have all this baggage that you're looking for. I'm not from a devotee family. I've not gone to Sathya Sai school. Nothing of that sort. So sometimes, to engage the class, what I would do is I would try to bring in anecdotes or stories from Swami's life wherever relevant, to keep them engaged, but also give them an idea of what Swami is and why we should consciously keep Swami as the center of our lives. So whenever I would tell these stories in class, I could very clearly sense a vibe from this boy. He would be, he would be laid back. He would put his hand on his head. He would yawn. He would stretch his hands as if to indicate, with his body language that, I'm not interested, right? I'm just not interested in these stories. Give me my education. Give me my BA economics. Give me my microeconomics, macroeconomics. I'm not interested in Satyam Shivam Sundaram, Ramakatha Rasavahini, or the stories that you have to tell. But nevertheless, I would do what I wanted to do. There will be, one or two people who may not always, you may not be able to cater to everybody in class at the same time. So now this 3 years passed, and I saw this boy. He got involved in the activities of the hostel, of the university, and all that. But that appearance of his didn't change. The external appearance of his didn't change. So he finished his 3rd year, and as he was finishing, one day I happened to have a conversation with him, and then I told him, "So what are you going to do next?" So he said, "Sir, I'm coming back here for my MA." Now that surprised me. Okay, so because I didn't think he would come back, I thought he would finish and he would be gone. And he joined for his MA. He was finishing his MA, and in his final year of MA, 2nd year of MA. He was in a drama which I was coordinating. So during that practice session, I was having a chat with him. So I asked him, "So, brother, what are you planning to do next? Where are you going?" He said, "I'm planning to come back here for my MBA." Now, this I could not hold back, right? I've seen him from the first day he came to college. I just didn't think he would do 5 years. Now he's saying he's going to do 2 more years. So I said, "I have to ask you this, and you have to answer me. Why? Why are you coming back? I thought you would have left by now." And he said, just one line. He said, "I don't think I'm ready to go out yet." And then he said, "Knowing and feeling what this place has done to me, I think that I still have some more of chiseling to go through before I'm ready to go out. And that's why I want to come back." Now that it really left, there was a lump in my throat, and I said, "Very happy." Now that is that transformation that we're talking about. Now what we mean by that is not that he became a devotee of Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. The transformation that individual himself was experiencing, and he was recognizing and realizing that he was undergoing a transformation. And I was really impressed that not just was he able to recognize that he's getting to be a better human being, he felt that he still had some more to go. The fact that he knew he had changed in some ways and he had not changed in some ways, right? And that he wanted that change also to happen. Now, when ma'am gave the elaborate introduction about how it was very different, or even brother, you also mentioned how in every yuga the evil has been in a different form, and that's why Swami also says that the termite infested tree. He says this human form is termite infested, termites of greed, of lust, of jealousy, and all of the vices. He says, I am not here to cut the tree. Swami says it's very easy to cut the tree that is infested with termites. He said, I'm not here to cut the tree. It will be saved. It will be saved, right? And that happens in the transformation that we undergo. That saving, the transformation is the process by which we are saving ourselves, and we are becoming the best form of ourselves that we can be, and closer and go closer and closer to being the perfect form that we are. Now, just to again, brother Ganesh, you were talking about how one thing that teachers should avoid is the hypocrisy, right? Of not being exposed as not doing what you're preaching, walking the talk, we say, practice what you preach, and all of that. Swami, when he had when he was all of 9 or 10 years old, he wrote a play which he made the boys of the village enact to the village, the elders of the village, everybody in the village, including the elders. And the title of the play was Cheppinattu Chestara. Do you do what you follow what you speak? And how he, through that play, he managed to drive powerful lessons to the elders in the village that, you know, we are all watching, everybody is watching you. You say something, but you do something else. And I was just mentioning, if you remember last night, that this was even before 20th October 1940, when he declared that he was SriSathya Sai Baba. So the form that had come down for the betterment of mankind, it could not even wait to announce itself as Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba and then give his message. Even as Satya, the little boy who was just living down the lane in Puttaparthi, whether it was organizing the Pandari Bhajan group or whether it was writing these plays, he was already, you know, it was a very natural manifestation of his purpose itself, isn't it? So one of the things that we thought that we should talk about was, what are the qualities that a teacher should have, especially if the teacher's objective is to move students from information to transformation. Ma'am, we'll come back to you now. Request you to take this forward.
Thank you. So, you were talking about the different things that teachers should be mindful of. Must walk your talk, align your thought, word, and deed. How is this relevant to the teachers here? Because they're all looking forward to hearing from us. How can the information they give to their students lead to transformation? So I presume. So the thing is, like all what we said, unless the transformation is happening in us, it cannot happen in our students. That's the point well made by both of you. Now let me actually take you back to what Sidhartha started with. How can information become transformation? So today's world, in good old days, information is very difficult to come by. Everything that a headmaster or a teacher told in the class became the only source of information. Everybody made copious notes. The teacher read books and brought information to the class. But today is a world we live in where information is all around us. We don't need to give students what's already there in their textbooks. So what is it that we need to give the students? I'm going to take this forward to what should the teacher do practically in the classroom with a couple of examples. So information is raw data, statistics, numbers, facts. Doesn't really mean much. if this, let me take the example. Let's say you're a history teacher. So what's the information you're giving to the class? You're saying the Sepoy mutiny happened in 1857, right? I hope it was 1857. So that's just information. And now if this information has to be converted to knowledge, all information gets converted to knowledge with a little bit of experience and education, which has a personal touch, which is subjective. So imagine I'm from a family where my grandparents came from Pakistan, where they experienced partition, where they understood what India had to go through to fight for its freedom. To such a person, what is mere information for another person becomes knowledge, because I have knowledge of the Indian freedom struggle. I have knowledge of India's history because I can not only tell you Sepoy mutiny happened in 1857, excuse me, I can also tell you how it led to my freedom in 1947, how it led to partition, how my grandparents walked all the way from Rawalpindi or wherever else, and how on the way they lost all their things, how they lived like refugee. With that additional bit of experience, coupled with the information, it turns into, oh, she's very knowledgeable in Indian history, is what you will say to such a person. Now, does it stop there? If it has to transform, knowledge may not transform me. Knowledge has to be converted to wisdom. Information to knowledge to wisdom. How does something like this become a piece of wisdom? Excuse me. Well, having read Indian history, having seen how many people martyred their lives, having seen how many people lived maybe in my own family 3 generations back as refugees, if I am a citizen who contributes to unity, who does not subscribe to subjugation, who will not lead to a division in the country, then that is a value system that I hold. That is the life of a wise man. So the same information of Sepoy mutiny can, at different levels, through different stages, be converted from a stage of information through a stage of knowledge to a stage of wisdom. So while teaching history, you are actually creating a citizen with a sense of responsibility, ownership, patriotism, unity, harmony, etc. That is the beginning of true education. Sorry for my sore throat. Maybe I can think of one more example. I'm thinking of this example from my own life. Supposing it, and this is what probably I'm looking at this as a practical tip for the teachers here, to use the information that they give to students to tool for transformation. Let me talk about, supposing I tell all of you, I was in the recent past a victim of cyber fraud and lost 1 lakh rupees. It's useless information for all of you who didn't even know me until half an hour back. Right? Somebody somewhere lost 1 lakh because you're stupid. That's all. It's a piece of information. How does this become knowledge? The minute you ask the question, how did that happen? What was the methodology? How did they cheat her? So what did she exactly do? The minute you analyze, interpret, and ask how, from what happened, she got cheated. Information, useless. How it becomes knowledge. The same information. So you can go to the class and say there is a lot of cyber fraud. This is what we should do. From today, if you notice, if you call on BSNL number, you are getting that message constantly, right? Don't be afraid to cybercrime. So these are things we use in the classes, I'm sure, all teachers who use modern tools. So how did this knowledge come? Okay, there's a FedEx call, then they will tell you to press 1. Oh, this is how, okay. So now I have knowledge of how cybercrime happens. Can this become wisdom? That's stretching it a little far maybe. However, if I am a person based on this information and knowledge, wise enough not to fall prey to a cheating or a deception. I'm wise. I'm a transformed individual, transformed at a little lower level. We can reach spiritual transformation at a little later level, but let's start with the basics. So, what is mere headline in the newspaper, which means nothing to me, I made it knowledge by telling my students how it happened. And then I used that platform to make them wise to know that they should not be deceived. And then a simple child in the class is probably transformed into a thinking, conscientious, intelligent decision maker, all of which will contribute eventually to bigger things in life. These are two thoughts. And how does the teacher do this? There are small things that we do that can, it's just, these are just two small examples, right? And very small things that we do can have a major impact. And let me tell you what happened once when Bhagwan was on campus. Those were days when Bhagwan used to come and spend a few days on campus. Excuse me. And there was one of our senior teachers, Telugu professor who's no more, very favorite of Swami actually. So when Bhagwan was on campus in those days, classes would not run normally and Bhagwan would be going about his business and people would be going about their business. So she came out of this room to go to the class when the bell rang. And there came Bhagwan in the corridor. They came across each other. So she was very happy to have a darshan unscheduled. She said, Swami, could I take namaskar? Swami said, yes. So she had two books in her hand. She laid it on the floor, put her head on Bhagwan's feet, took a beautiful namaskar, and she rose to just notice that Swami's face had completely changed in that fraction of a second. And she didn't know what had gone wrong in those few seconds that she touched his feet. With a stern face, Bhagwan said, is that what you're taking to the class? And then she looked at it. She had the attendance register and her textbook with her. So she was perplexed. She was saying, what's wrong? I'm taking my attendance register. The attendance register, by the way, was covered with a newspaper which had a movie poster on it. Swami points to it and he says, in the class, you're going to teach them concentration, not to be distracted, not to be waylaid by the distractions of the world, like what is shown in movies and what the actors and actresses do. And then you are yourself carrying to the class a book which is how careful and diligent and meticulous you should be, even in a small thing as the cover that you give to an attendance register that you carry to the class. That is the amount of granular detail to which Bhagwan expected that we facilitate transformation. Now, this is also, I would think, a part of transformation. It is the teacher's job to facilitate, not to disrupt the focus of the student by introducing an unnecessary element in the class, a simple newspaper cover. So the amount of responsibility on all of us, if only we looked at, I mean, even as I'm talking, I'm just awed by the vision that he has for education. Awed by it, really. It's coming to me only as I'm speaking, so I must actually thank this audience and Professor Mukundan for getting us into this thought and the magnitude of what we are talking about. Education as a singular tool for man's evolution to the divine being. So these are some of the thoughts that are gathered as I listen to both of them. I'm sure Ganesh is waiting or Sidhartha is waiting to come ahead with their other points. Yes.
Even as we were sharing some few memories, there's a saying we say, living with God is through education. So many lessons we learned at his lotus feet just by looking at Swami. If you remember, when Swami used to light the arti, there's some 10-15 arti with one matchstick. He will light all of them, and in the end he will say one. I used only one. He didn't have to waste one more matchstick. I mean, first, I mean, it took me some time to understand what Swami is doing. Of course, that's where the seniors come and help us. So then when you look at Swami doing that, that is one instance. Second instance, I remember very clearly.
Ganesh, allow me to come in to add one more to what you're saying. So I'm sure you both will remember this better than me. Swami at Kodaikanal, every time he finished a meal and he gargled his mouth, he, rinsed his mouth. One student noticed that he was never spitting it out, but he was drinking it after he washed his mouth after the meal. So this student repeatedly noticed this and found it very curious, and one day seemed to have asked Swami, I read this somewhere. So one day seemed to have asked Swami, Swami, why is it that you are rinsing your mouth and drinking up that water? Now what Swami said is amazing. Swami said, for a single grain of rice to grow,
Wow.
do you know the amount of minerals, soil, sunlight, water, energy, fertilizers, human effort, all that is invested in a single grain? How can I even throw out half a grain from my mouth? That's the level of teaching children. It's transformative, right? It's so absolutely transformative, this kind of a thing. So like when you said living with God is education, I just quickly remembered this. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. And one more teacher was sharing, like he had come for the morning darshan, and Swami had just metallized vibhuti to give it to one of the devotees, and he was looking around if somebody is having a paper. So the person who walks behind Swami with the paper, he was little behind. So this teacher saw the situation and immediately opened one notebook, one big register notebook, and he tore off that paper. When we say Bhagwan, aapke liye jaan ka hazir hai, means we are giving everything. That he tore that big paper and gave it like this to Swami. And Swami was holding the vibhuti, and then he took the paper from the top, one small piece he folded, tore it, and that also top part he folded and tore it till the half. Then again he tore it like this. So he didn't even use the full top part. And he told that much is enough for vibhuti. Don't waste. So that lesson, even when he was sharing, so don't waste is one very important thing which we have seen in Swami's life. And one other very touching moment, I was a second year undergraduate student, and Swami had taken some injury here. That time he was not keeping well. At that time, Swami was holding the railing and he was standing at that point. And there was a Sevadal who was giving sari to Swami. Swami was giving the sari to the ladies who were coming. So in that hurry, the Sevadal, I think Sevadal gave the sari to Swami, and Swami gave it to the lady. She was a little nervous and she dropped the sari. The sari fell down. So the natural reaction of the Sevadal was to just pick the sari and give it to the lady, because Swami had already given. And Swami told, stop, give back the sari. So Swami took the sari and then he left other hand which was holding the railing, he left it and he folded the sari like this, and then he gave it with both the hands. So we used to go for Gram Sevas those days. So the way we do every action, with so much of love, it is not that I'm just doing it,
Sorry, I'm coming in now. The stories are flowing in. Sorry. One more. So this was another time that Bhagwan. So I'm sure many of you enjoy Bhagwan stories, and those of you who are not too familiar in the audience with Bhagwan SriSathya Sai Baba, these are still inspiring stories, right? Of good conduct and transformative examples from teachers. That's why we are sharing these. So this was a time when Bhagwan was on our campus. He was in the interview room. There's a room there where Bhagwan meets people, and there were some of our teachers who were waiting outside the room when Bhagwan comes out, and one of them had a picture of Bhagwan to be autographed by him. So she had this photograph and she had a fountain pen in those days. This is late 80s maybe, and kept it ready so that when Bhagwan comes out of the room, she can thrust it on him and say, Swami, please sign it for me. So they had been waiting for a while. By the time Bhagwan came out and she handed over the picture and the pen, and Swami took it to sign on the picture, the ink had dried up a little bit. Now, what was a natural thing that all of us did? We just shook it where we were. And we did that a lot of times in our classes, didn't we? When we were children. So, of course, now nobody uses fountain pens, so the possibility is less. Even then, the lesson here is very interesting. So he started to write and it wasn't right. Then he quickly asked them to make way, and they were wondering where he was going away with the pen and the picture in his hand. He went to the edge of the corridor where there was a rainwater drain all along the corridor. Swami went there and then he shook the pen. It's, after all, 2 drops of ink which would fall from a pen that Swami shook, people would be ready to lick it up. And look at what he did. So conscious of doing the right thing. And these are things that will actually transform young little children in their formative years to people with good manners, people who are careful of cleanliness, people who are conscious of economy, people who are, all these things. These are tiny things you might think, but these will have a large, impactful effect on them. Sidhartha is in line for the next story, I can see. Yeah.
So this is going in line with living with God is true education and the pen that you mentioned, man. So I had a classmate of mine who was with Bhagwan inside Bhagwan's residence, and a whole batch of pens had come for Swami to distribute to the students. Okay, so Swami, being the meticulous planner, right? He just didn't want the pens to be distributed without actually checking if majority of them being checked to see if they work. Okay, so now he asks this boy to pick up a few and check if they're writing. So like all of us do, not just to check if a pen is writing, even if you're buying a pen, when you go to a shop to buy a pen, they'll have this pad, right, where you check, scribble to check. So he picked up a couple of pens, he opened them and he started just trying it on a piece of paper. And Swami noticed that, and Swami was visibly upset. He said, Chi, what are you doing? He said, no, Swami, I'm just checking if it is working. And Swami said, why not use that opportunity to write Likita Japam? Right? Why lose that opportunity? So living with God, when you said the pen and Ganesh said living with God, he never lost, missed an opportunity to drive a very deep message. Because even that act, why waste it on nothingness? Why not use that to think of God? Why not use that to, write his name those many number of times?
And one other very interesting, in the same line, episode comes in my mind, where we know Swami was a very good host. If any food event is happening, he's a very good host. He'll go and see whether the plates and the glass, everything is spoon, everything is arranged in the right place. So this was shared by our late Ruchir sir. He had shared in Vrindavan this event. So he was one of the young teachers who was in charge of the dining session. So he was shifting sambar from inside the kitchen to the dining hall. And because it was a very special lunch, I think that Swami was organizing that day, there were 2 varieties of sambar that day and some 4 or 5 varieties of vegetables. So he was shifting the sambar from kitchen, and as he was shifting, Swami entered the kitchen. And like he was face to face with Swami. So Swami asked him, what is this? He told Swami, it is sambar. Well, I can see it is sambar. Which sambar is it? So he started shaking it, hoping that the piece will come up. He was shaking like that. So Swami told him, I did not tell you to dance. I asked you which sambar it is. He told Swami, that's what I'm trying to get the piece up. It was actually mulangi, that radish sambar it was. So nothing was coming up. The Swami told, you can just smell it and tell me what it is. So he smelled and he told Swami, it is mulangi, radish. Okay, go and keep it fast. Guests are arriving. Now half an hour fast forward, guests are arriving, they're sitting, and Swami is going around, and serving boys are serving. And this Ruchir sir is shifting the sambar from one counter to another counter. So that's when one VIP asks, what is it? He says, sambar. Which sambar? And sir nicely smells and tells, this sambar. Okay. And Swami was seeing from the distance. He's told that VIP told, okay, later I'll see. Okay. So he kept the sambar. As he's coming back, Swami with his eye to eye, come inside kitchen, like gave an indication. Swami went inside kitchen. Sir also went. Swami himself closed the bolt. Inside nobody was there. Then Swami turned. And when he turned, his eyes were red. And he started blasting in Telugu. Now, sir was absolutely clueless why Swami was so upset. It's very, very, he's not understanding. It happened so fast. So after 2 minutes, when Swami stopped scolding in Telugu, And Sir's Telugu was also not so good that time. He told, luckily, I didn't know much of the words which Swami used on me. Then after 2 minutes, he asked Swami, what did I do wrong? Why are you so upset? How can you smell the sambar and tell which sambar it is? And he told, Swami, you only taught me just now, half an hour back. He told, that is inside the kitchen, not outside the kitchen. Okay. Then Swami told him, even when I tell you something, you should use your discrimination. There is a desha, kala, paristhiti for everything. Desha, kala, paristhiti. So many times, we say Swami has told this, or my divine master, this is the teaching. But Swami wants us to use our discrimination faculty and understand what is the desha, kala, paristhiti under which that decision or that action needs to be taken. So this is also one thing which, as teachers, when we are giving instructions to the students, we should always tell them, that's what Rani ma'am was telling, okay, instead of reading out the history, it is very important that we bring into life the subject so that we understand what context in which that action or that event took place. So the contextual understanding of the event is very important, and situation is very important, so that students become sharp to actually apply their discrimination faculty. And in the same context, why discrimination? Inside TRI, once Venu Srinivasan sir was there, he asked Swami, we are in the corporate sector. Any decision we make, it's not good or bad. It is bad or worse, like it is going to hurt somebody. Okay. So Swami, we want to do the lesser harm. How can we do that? I mean, we don't want to harm anybody, but at the same time, the way things are. And Swami told, for such decision, you need sukshma buddhi. This word Swami used, sukshma buddhi, that is subtle discrimination. So yeah, Swami, how do we get subtle discrimination? And Swami told, by living a good life, a godly life, a spiritual life. Naturally, the subtle discrimination awakens in a person. A person who's living, as we were discussing, there's an animal tendency, human and divine. Those of us who are oscillating between human and divine, naturally this faculty will awaken. The moment we feel that we are getting dragged into the animal tendency, the motivation for us to hold on towards the human tendency is this. If we go towards the divine tendency from the human tendency, naturally these subtle faculties will affect. So whether this workshop that we are having, information to transformation, whether we read hundreds of books of all the divine, all the holy masters, at the end of the day, the answer which comes from within, that's the sukshma buddhi, the viveka which is there inside us, that only gives us the absolute satisfaction. And for us, for that to happen, we should, Swami says, many of you living a life of a housefly. A housefly will go and sit on a sweet, and next moment it is going and sitting on the dustbin also. It is savoring both. You should be like a honeybee which will stick only to the flower. That is where there's so much of rampancy in hypocrisy. We see after so many years of association with this master or reading these books or reading Bhagavad Gita for 30 years, why am I not transforming? It's because probably we are living a life of a housefly. Okay, there is a housefly aspect in us. So we have to be like a honeybee. That is one very important decision and commitment that we should make. And then naturally we see the transformation happening.
Just to extend that, brother, probably the honeybee is the second stage. And eventually we have to become the moth which looks to just merge itself in the fire.
Beautiful. Actually, we have 1 more minute to close. So it's already 8:30. So dear co-academicians who are on the path of educare, we hope, the mission of Bhagwan and the mission that you want to be a part of. I want to close with a couple of examples. One is electricity, current, or light is produced only when the positive and the negative come together. Similarly, Swami says, and these are, I have with me a compendium of things that Swami has told exclusively for teachers. I'm picking 3 points to close this discussion with. Swami says, the worldly knowledge, the subject knowledge that you will give is only one part, the negative. Unless you supplement it with the transformative, wise, spiritual knowledge, no energy, no power, no light will occur. Which means education itself, in the true sense, does not occur when one is not incorporated with the other. Second, what comes out of the tap is what is in the tank. If transformative education has to happen to students, transformative mindset has to be there in the teachers. So look for in your own subjects, in your own lesson plans, in your own classroom experiences, what you can do to make it a transformative experience, not an informative session. See, most of our classes, if we really self-reflect, end up being informative sessions. But what we are aiming to achieve through this discussion, through everything that Swami has done for us and continues to do for us, is make education a transformative experience. Finally, Swami says, how can you really ever bring transformation? How did Swami bring any transformation in any of us? Only through one tool, and that is love. Swami says, if you want Guru Bhakti from your student, you should show Vatsalya Bhakti to your students. That will transform them. Treat your students as Prema Putras. Your own children are your Kama Putras, children born out of lust. But your students sent to you are your Prema Putras, born out of love. So if that approach we have, transformation is bound to happen. And once again, to tie up the theme, information to transformation, what are the three colors of the traffic light? Red, green, yellow. Information. What is knowledge? When it is red, I must halt. When it is green, I must go, and so on. Everything that we know about traffic signal is my knowledge of it. What is wisdom? Not to do the wrong thing. When it is red, have the sense control to stop. When it is green, have the courage to go. Teaching children that is much more important than just teaching them red, green, and yellow, which is what Bhagwan's vision for education we believe is about. I hope I've summed up a lot of points that are still simmering in Sidharth's and Ganesh's mind, I'm sure. For want of time, with their consent, we will bring this session to a close with Professor Mukundan's permission. If the audience has anything to share with us, I wouldn't say ask us. We are not Mr. or Miss Know-it-all, but from our little blessed experience from Bhagwan, if we have any thoughts to share, we are happy to share. Thank you.
Sairam, dear teacher, this is time for question and answer session. So much experienced faculty members are with us. Kindly, whatever you want to clarify, please come forward.
Sairam sir, this is Harinath. Quick question. How do we know, having taking sessions or classes in the classroom, how do you benchmark yourself, or how do you know that you are making the right progress? Meaning, your sessions have been really being transformative to the students. How do you rate yourself? How do you check?
I have one line straight from Swami as answer right in front of me. Swami says, those who share spiritual knowledge with students will automatically receive respect. I'm repeating that. That's all I want to say as answer. If we share spiritual knowledge, which means that which is transformative, you will automatically receive respect. So one of the yardsticks might be the love, trust, and respect that we get from our own students.
Sairam, thank you.
Yes. Maitri Krishna Swami.
Sairam. Sairam, Rani, Sairam Rani ma'am, Sairam Ganesh brother, Sairam Sidhartha brother. This is Sairaj here. Actually, I'm very happy to see all my, blessed teachers, my senior brother, my room leader, came Ganesh, and to my batchmate Sidhartha and Rani ma'am. After many years, I'm seeing you and talking to you. Very happy for that. Hope you remember me. And yeah, all this. I mean, there's no words. Like I was scaffolded by KM Ganesh from Patti. He was my room leader. So it's very, I was just reliving all those experiences. And it's a very special moment for me. Thank you, all of you, for the wonderful session. There's nothing more to ask or say anything. It was excellent. Sairam to all three of you.
Sairam ma'am, this is Mrs. Suma here. Sairam sirs, both of you. There's nothing to ask, as Sairaj sir said. It is just whatever the questions were being erupted in our mind while working with the children, we are just getting the answers automatically from your session, actually. Ganesh sir, Sidhartha sir, and Rani ma'am. It was really wonderful. I just wanted to, I just felt like sharing this. Thank you so much, ma'am. Sairam, ma'am. Sairam, sirs.
Yes, ma'am. Nalini P, who raised their hand. You can ask questions, please.
Saiteja, please also see the messages that are coming.
Yes, sir.
There is a very interesting idea, sir, from Mukundan, sir. Somebody's written how they would like to know transforming content for each subject, subject-wise sessions for different content that can, examples, etc. I think.
Sairam.
I'm here if I can. There is one example which comes because in organic chemistry, there are 5 types of reaction. We have substitution reaction, we have redox reaction, we have got rearrangement reaction, we have got elimination reaction, we have got addition reaction. So for example, in this, one teacher went and asked Swami, students, they're all teenagers. One of the common thing which they are asking very genuinely during satsang or some separate sessions is a lot of bad thoughts or wrong thoughts are coming. How do we deal with it? So Swami was sitting next to the window inside the interview room. He just pulled out one envelope and he rolled it. And he rolled it and he gave it back to the teacher and said, just make it straight. The teacher tried to make it straight. It was rolling back. We all know that when we buy a new calendar, it kind of, when we try to straighten it, rolls back. So what we do is we roll it in the opposite direction. So Swami rolled it in the opposite direction. And then the letter became straight. So Swami told, see, tell them not to fight with bad thoughts or bad feelings. Instead, let them cultivate good thoughts or let them read good books. Okay. Spend more time in satsang. Okay. So naturally, the bad thing will be taken care of. It will remove. So this is, if you are teaching organic chemistry and you're saying, okay, substitution reaction, you want to say, I mean, in a passing, it is not like you have to go too much. It's simple analogy of a letter which is just folded in the opposite direction, or we can call it as a rearrangement reaction. Like that, it's basically, teaching is such a creative profession, and the analogy of Swami's analogy is so beautiful, it directly goes into the heart of the student. And one of the most powerful thing about Swami's teaching was analogies. So every concept, if you can connect it with an analogy, okay, it's not that the whole teaching, the whole class has to be full of it. Even 1 or 2 powerful analogy comes into your mind. You just, fit it in somewhere in the middle. That is more than enough. It's not that the entire subject needs to be, otherwise it becomes a force fit. We are not telling that we should force fittingly put an analogy. As and when the divine inspiration comes, here and there we can put. So this is how we and it's a continuously evolving process. This is how we can integrate certain spiritual concept with the conventional academic concepts.
Very nice point, brother, because Swami's discourses are always full of analogies, right? In fact, we have a couple of publications, isn't it, of all the different items that Swami's used for analogy. Animal analogy, metals analogy, right? Somebody's published a couple of books, if I'm not wrong. So Swami's one of the most powerful ways, like you said, is using analogies.
One example comes immediately in my mind. Swami has many times mentioned about sense control. Sense control is very important. And through sense control, the mind control. If you directly try to control the mind, it is very difficult. You have to control the mind through the senses. And Swami gives an example where even if you have to put a fire in a dead body, you actually prepare a fire, and then you put the body and then cover it with, and you light the fire to the wood. Along with the wood, the body also gets burnt. Similarly, when you control your senses, the mind also gets controlled. So these are very, very powerful analogies and practical, implementable thing. Analogy is something which we can immediately hold on to. One more example which comes is Swami says, why just when we say the teaching is there, no, that education is not just for living, it's for life. So as ma'am was telling that, okay, both the spiritual teaching and the worldly academic teaching has to merge, then only plus and minus, then on. Swami gives the example of a coconut tree. There's a coconut tree and there's a shadow of a coconut tree. So what if we are trying to grab the shadow of the coconut, okay, it doesn't give us fulfillment. It is very easy to touch the shadow of a coconut. You just have to walk. You don't have to put the effort of climbing the tree. But if you climb the tree, the Swami says tree is the analogy of spiritual teachings and spiritual life. When you are climbing and when you actually hold the coconut, and when you look at the shadow, you'll see your shadow is also holding the shadow of the coconut. So both the spirituality, when you are walking in the spiritual path, the worldly path is automatically taken care of. Okay, but there is an effort. Now, many people ask, till when we should put an effort? So the answer to is you have to put effort to a point till you reach a point where after every effort, after that effort, it becomes effortless. I mean, it applies for all the singers and players. Till when we should do abhyasa? Till it becomes a part of us. Put effort till you reach a point. After that, every effort becomes effortless. So this is a lifelong thing. And once you have become effortless in one domain, then you go to the next domain. And it's a continuous journey that we have to go.
So many analogies come to mind, but yeah, I know we probably have to hold out for some question if we have somebody else waiting to ask us something. But I remember listening to one of the talks. Maybe I'll say it while okay, somebody's here to ask the question. Okay.
Sairam, my question is very simple. Sometimes the teachers, the other teachers, I am director of a school. Sometimes the teacher asks that why not this meditation and other positivity that we are introducing is working. So we give the example of Archimedes. That basically negativity is the weight of the body and the positivity is upward. But when the negativity is more and the positivity is less, so sometimes the effect is not seen that way. So there is only one way: either you reduce the negativity or you increase the positivity. This is what we usually share with them. Sairam.
Sam, sir. Yeah, in the same line as you said, the Archimedes principle, there's also in physics the concept of signal to noise ratio, S by N. Now, signal is our conscience talking to us, but if we are too drowned in the noise, the denominator is so big, the signal becomes weak. So the signal is constant. It is just the noise is increased. So when we reduce, that's what I think we try to do when we are doing meditation. We are just silencing the noise. The signal is always there. It is just because the noise is so much, the signal is drowned in the noise. Any more questions are there? Maybe the moderator can read out if any questions are left in the messages.
Teja?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But everybody is thanking you. No questions are there in messages.
Should we close the session, sir?
Any more questions, please?
Yes, Lavanya.
Yeah.
Sairam brothers and ma'am. In the students, actually, there'll be a combination of psychologies, and some pretend to be very obedient, and some are actually obedient and quiet, but there'll be ulterior transactions going on. So, how do we deal with them?
Yeah, who wants to take? I can only recall one thing. I don't know. I think it was Bhagwan Sri Krishna Paramahamsa who said, so I'm not able to recall the exact details. But somebody said, I go to the temple, I close my eyes and pretend like I'm praying. And when I pretend, but I'm not really praying because my mind is elsewhere or I'm thinking of something else. What should I do? And I think Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, start with pretending, because it will eventually become a habit that will become a part of you. Now, this is a case of somebody behaving double nature, you know, something in front of you and something else. Very obedient in front of the teacher and not otherwise. Now, one of the things that is when you recognize something like this, there are multiple ways to handle it. One is to give subtle samples and anecdotes of what happens to people who are dual and who lose trust and respect when they get exposed. And in a close circle of people, everybody will get exposed someday or the other. So making them understand the importance of integrity, if not directly, but in subtle ways, could be one of the things that you can do. Secondly, encouraging countering that behavior with the power of truth. Thirdly, understanding from the psychological perspective, understanding why is the child doing what it is doing, and allowing the child the liberty to be what it really is in front of us could encourage the child to be what it is, and then we can have an influence that will change them towards what we want them to be. I'm not sure if I'm convincing, and if Ganesh and Sidhartha have something to say, please add.
Ma'am, in some context, like in one context, Swami told there are three type of people. One who is sleeping, you can go and wake him up. Okay. One who is pretending to sleep, you shake him. Okay. It's difficult to get. But there is a third category also, person. It is impossible. Those who are actually sleeping, but those who think they are awake, they are smart. Okay. They think, but they are not. It's almost impossible. Even I cannot help. Swami has told us. Even I also cannot help. It is just the life experience which has to come over a period of time, which will take a toll on them. At some point, they will wake up. Okay. So as a teacher, there's this one mantra which Swami has given: do your dharma, rest is their karma. Okay. Do your dharma. I mean, do the best extent possible what you can. This Swami himself has told one of the teachers, because he was crying that I'm not able to transform or change. I failed in my duty because some students did some indiscipline act. Swami told, you've been a warden only for 3 months. I've been here for 60 years trying to transform these devotees. You're showing his hand towards all the devotees. Then Swami gave a very standing instruction: do your dharma, rest is their karma. So that will give you an inspiration, or I would say the resilience to do what you're doing. Otherwise, after seeing that, you should never feel that you're putting water onto the stone. Every student is different. Every generation is different. Every batch is different. The energy and the enthusiasm in which you approach each and every individual and batch should be at the peak. That is what your dharma is. The outcome is what they have come.
There is another interesting question in the chat box. She says everybody in the school is generally harsh with the students, so she's also tempted to be harsh. What can she do differently? So this is what I tell my students usually. They're all teenagers. I say, you all want to follow the trend. Why don't you be the trend setter? It's often the case that we all like to follow a trend that exists, but we don't think of being a trailblazer or a trend setter. So if Swami's quote that you must treat your children as prema putras, you must give them valsalya bhakti if you want guru bhakti, that love can transform much better than any other tool. If these are your mottos, there shouldn't be anything that should actually shake you, waver you from your path, and others should start following you. Actually, usually very diffident. We are not convinced, and therefore we are not confident. If you are convinced that love is the path to transformation and not harshness, if you have that conviction, you'll have the confidence. If you have the confidence, you will start doing it. If you start doing it, that will become the trend. Now, what's happening, since you lack the confidence and the conviction, you are tending to do what somebody else is doing. Sorry if I sound too blunt, but that's what I feel is a solution, to have complete conviction, which will give you the confidence.
Ma'am, can I add something to this? If I look at the question, they behave very harshly. Maybe because they have lost their temper, they are becoming angry. Now, one thing we have to understand here, there's a word called tough love. Sometimes we have to be tough with the students. But here one analogy, example I'm remembering from Swami's life also. This has happened sometime in 1960s in General Hospital. Swami had, those days there was only one BP monitoring machine. Okay. So sometimes the patients had to sit in the queue, and some devotee had donated some 4 BP machines. So Swami had sent it to the General Hospital. So there, because it is new, they kept it inside the almirah and locked it because it should not get spoiled. So the doctor was very concerned that it should not, Swami has sent, it should be. The whole idea was it so that the patients need not wait. So one day, suddenly Swami gave a surprise visit. And Swami told, so that day the doctor had gone for lunch at that moment when Swami visited. So the BP machine, which is used, also was locked inside. So when Swami came, and Swami told, I had sent 4 BP machines, where are they? So now they have started running here and there. The person who had locked, he had the key and he had gone. He had, instead of keeping in the drawer. So Swami showed that he was upset. Okay, the patients are waiting. He started scolding. He was very upset. He could see that Swami's. So the doctor came. They took out the BP machine. They checked Swami's BP. BP, though Swami was very angry, was absolutely normal, 120/80. Okay, and after some time, Swami told them the reason I sent all that. Swami calmed down after some half an hour, also, 10-15 minutes. Swami spoke. The patient should not be waiting. That's the reason I said, not to lock it up inside. And then after 15-20 minutes, when Swami was calm and he was joking and he was normal, again in his usual self, Swami told him to again check the BP. Again, it was 120/80. So Swami showed, see, you don't become angry. You can use anger to drive home the point. But if you are becoming angry, the anger is taken over you, then you lost it. Then you're showing all the frustration on the students. You're doing injustice to them and to yourself also. But you can always use, if you're using anger as a tool in control, where you know you're in control, like Swami demonstrated in this example, how his BP was same, 120/80. Whether he was absolutely at the peak of anger, he was not at the peak of anger. He was showing the anger, but he did not become angry. So this is something which we have to be conscious of. This is the path of transformation. It is not easy. When Swami says, you are my Bangaru, I used to always praise Swami. One day you call me Bangaru. Actually, once Swami called me Dunnapota. It happened because Swami told me something in Telugu I didn't understand. But many years later of introspection, Bangaru actually means gold. And one of the discourse, Swami says, a goldsmith will heat the gold till he is able to see his own reflection in it. That heating process, you should bear it. Are you having that willingness to bear that heat? Because being a Bangaru is not just that you're gold, it is a responsibility. The path of transformation has got a lot of heat in it. Are you ready to tread on that path? Yes or no? Because if you want to attain that level of purity where Swami looks at you and he can see himself, pure reflection of his, that's a journey which has a lot of tests, lot of fire in it. So it is not easy. So just as other teachers, the environment, people are becoming angry, showing their frustration harsh, you have to introspect yourself whether you have become angry or you're using anger to drive home the point. So that subtle discrimination and awareness is very important. Then we know we are in the right path. Maybe Sidhartha, if you want to add something.
No, brother, there are a couple of people who have raised their hands, so maybe we should.
Sairam sir, I am dealing with the middle school students actually. I was about to ask how to deal the students without raising the voice and angry, but I got a correct exact answer with your complete explanation. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Bharat Gupta, sir.
Any more questions, please?
One small clarification, sir. That means,
Please.
like what you said is, like first we need to control our angry to deal the children, right? Whatever be the situation is, we have
If
to.
we have become angry and then we are trying to correct, then it is not coming from the seat of love, it is coming from the seat of ego. But when you are in control, when you understand the limitations of the individual or student, whomever you're discussing with, and when you have to raise your voice, not because sometimes you have to raise the voice to drive home the point, because in certain discussion or sometimes that is what goes inside, but you should have not become angry. There's a difference between becoming angry and showing anger. In English, I think it's called righteous indignation also. I mean, there are some words, but it's not an easy thing because anger is always there. The thousands of births of evolution, it is there. It has been part of our survival instinct, but it is something which we have to cultivate with practice.
No, actually, I want to just add, one of our teachers asked this to Swami. She said, Swami, sometimes we are forced to scold the students while you tell us to treat them with love. And Swami said this. Swami said, your words should come from your tongue, not from your heart. So they should sound like you are angry, but you should not be really angry, which is also what Ganesh said. One, so you can be angry from your mouth, from your tongue, but not real, which means you should not harbor hostility with them. You are doing it for the pure reason of transforming them and not because you dislike a child. That is one. Second is we should be able to control our own anger. But very recently in my own experiments, I have come up with one more philosophy. Being stern is different from being harsh. What we actually need sometimes to ensure discipline is sternness, and that need not necessarily be harshness. So the distinction is very, very thin, maybe, and therefore we consider that we are harsh when we just need to be. What we are clear about in terms of discipline, we have to be clear, and that's a very stern line, and that need not be harsh at all. So these are some thoughts that I want to add. I think it's 9 and we should let people go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sairam sirs, Sairam ma'am, I have two questions with me. I do not know whether they are related to teaching but it is connected to teaching only. I am Mr. Seturaman from Hyderabad. We, in our SSSSIHL organization, we are taking EHV classes in government schools. First question of mine is, when we are already given the syllabus, everything, we try to prepare and go there. And when we just try to address the children and complete it, we find for our own introspection, we feel sometimes the children have not grasped it correctly, or it's very difficult to deal with children. How to overcome that? Second question is, some of our own education instructors with whom we go to the classes, probably as an individual, we feel that he could have just done it a little better or she could have done it. But by telling it to them, maybe they feel we will hurt them, or whether it is very, very delicate for us to tell them how to overcome that situation also. This is my questions, please.
Anybody taking it? So, sir, firstly, I think it should be engaging. If our methodology is not working and the students are not showing interest, I think our methodology needs to be more engaging and more interesting for them. That could be one of the things. Yeah, I think Sidhartha wanted to say something.
No, ma'am, please.
Yeah. Secondly, sometimes in our over enthusiasm, we might look like people trying to impose a certain ideology. That's another thing, because Bhagwan's message is the most potent thing here. When we are doing education in human values, it is the human values that is important. One is it should reflect in our personality, in our action. Second, it should be very engaging and interesting for the students. Thirdly, sometimes because Bhagwan and his name and his form is such a part of our lives, that dominates the message. But for a rank outsider, the message could be more important than what is personally very dear to us. These are three of my thoughts.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Usha ji, madam.
Sairam, is there any more question? With your permission, I think we can conclude now. Dr. Rani, Dr. Sidhartha, Dr. Ganesh. Loving Sairam to all of you once again.
Thank you, sir.
Just like the media, the experience of the media person, once again it is proved that what is SriSathyaSai Institute of Higher Learning? All the three made Swami very happy and proud. And Swami gave a lesson for us, namely that I am doing this and you are getting the credit. So once again it is proved because the session was so wonderful, so useful, so meaningful. And once again we understand the person who are molded by Bhagwan himself. And Swami often says, during the convocation address, Swami used to say, bring good name. And you have brought great name, not only good name, great name to Sathya Sai Institute and to our beloved Bhagwan. The only thing we can do is to pray to our beloved Bhagwan to shower all the grace on you so that, again and again you can mold more and more teachers, you can guide more and more teachers. And we are extremely, because, Sister Dr. P.L. Rani is having a sore throat. And I was just praying to Swami when I got the message from you. I just took a little vibhuti and told Swami, pray to Swami, Swami, take care, please. So I was just praying to Swami. Thank you so much. And the session was so good. So inspiring for all the team, because as a teacher, I am totally inspired by hearing all these things and Swami's analogies and Swami's messages. And we pray to Bhagwan to have all of you again and again to address the teachers. We will making the request at the appropriate time to the registrars and VCs. Deep gratitude to all of you. We are nothing more we can say because we are so happy. We are so happy and we are grateful to Bhagwan for this unique session where so many things have been shared about his love, on his teachings, on the example that's given by Bhagwan. And I'm sure all the messages were on that. The teachers are so happy. And naturally, when the participants are so happy, no doubt that our Lord will be so happy because you have made the participants so happy and you inspire them. Thank you so much. And with your permission, we'll conclude the meeting. Sai Teja, you can have Shanti Mantra.
Silence. Silence. Thank you. Shanti. Samastaluka. Sukhino bhavantu. Samastaluka. Sukhino bhavantu. Samastaluka. Sukhino bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai.
With Bhagwan's grace, we will be sharing the recorded video by tomorrow. so that, again and again, you can watch all these things. Sairam, thank you. Thank you, Sister Dr. Rani, young brother
Sairam.
Ganesh, Sidhartha. Thank you so much, Sairam.
Thank you, sir. The opportunity was ours. Thank you.
Sairam, 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 Sairam.
Sairam sir, Sairam ma'am, Sairam brothers.
Sairam.
Sairam, sir.
Sai Ram, sir. Sai Ram.
Sairam.